Do you ever wonder why France is the way it is? Well, its history is full of dark chapters that have left their mark on the country and its people. From revolutions to occupations, there's no shortage of scary stories from France's past. So let's take a journey back in time and explore some of the scariest periods in French history. The French Revolution chaos. The French Revolution was a major political and social unrest in France. That lasted from 1789 to 1799. It was a time of great upheaval and chaos, with the French people rising up against the monarchy and aristocracy to demand a more fair and equal society. The revolution was a terrifying time for many. There was a lot of violence and bloodshed, and the streets of Paris were often filled with angry mobs. The storming of the Bastille, a famous prison, was a pivotal moment in the revolution, and it remains a powerful symbol of the fight against oppression. But it wasn't just a time of fear for the people of France. The revolution also saw the rise of some truly terrifying figures like Maximilien Robespierre, who was a leader of the Reign of Terror, a period when thousands of people were executed for their political beliefs. The revolution ultimately failed to achieve its goals of creating a more fair and equal society, but it did leave a lasting legacy of fear and trauma for the people of France. Religious conflicts in the 1500s. The religious conflicts of the 1500s in France were a time of intense tension and violence between the Catholic and Protestant groups. The country was torn apart by bloody battles and persecutions, and ordinary people like farmers and merchants were caught in the crossfire. This was a scary time to be alive, as entire villages could be wiped out in a day, and people were often killed for their religious beliefs. Napoleonic Wars. The Napoleonic Wars were a series of conflicts in Europe in the early 1800s that involved France and its allies against a variety of European powers. It was a terrifying time as the war spread across the continent and led to widespread destruction and death. Entire families could be wiped out in a matter of days, and people were forced to flee their homes and become refugees. Colonial struggles. The colonial struggles of the 1600s and 1700s were a scary time for those involved. As European powers like France expanded their empires overseas, they engaged in brutal battles with each other and with the local populations. The French were known for their use of torture and oppression of the people. They colonized, and many people suffered greatly under their rule. Secret scandals of the royal court. The secret scandals of the royal court were a source of fear and intrigue in the palace. Rumors of mysterious deaths, hidden identities, and forbidden affairs circulated through the halls, and people were often afraid to speak out against the king or queen for fear of being implicated in the scandals. World War II occupation. The World War II occupation of France was a terrifying time for the people of the country. They were divided between those who supported the Nazi regime and those who resisted it. Many people were forced to flee their homes and hide from the occupying forces, while others were taken to concentration camps. The occupation ended with the liberation of France in 1944. But the scars of the war and the betrayal of the collaborationists ran deep. Uprisings in Paris. Throughout the 1800s, there were several uprisings in Paris that turned the city into a battleground. People took to the streets to protest against the government and the wealthy elite, and the violence and bloodshed that ensued. The most famous of these uprisings was the June Rebellion of 1848, which saw thousands of people killed or injured. Historic prison stories. The historic prison stories of France are tales of horror and despair. In the years before prison reform, the country's jails were overcrowded and unsanitary, and prisoners were often tortured or left to die of starvation. One of the most famous prisons was the Bastille, which was stormed by revolutionaries in 1789. Royal family's fall. The fall of the royal family was a dramatic moment in French history. In 1792, the monarchy was overthrown, and the king and his family were imprisoned. Marie Antoinette, the queen, was particularly hated, and she was eventually beheaded, along with her son Louis XVI. The country then became a republic. Nationwide fear during revolution. The nationwide fear during the French Revolution was palpable. People were suspicious of each other, and there was a sense that everyone was out to get you. The revolution had turned the country upside down, and people were afraid of what the future would hold. These are just a few of the many scary stories from France's past. From revolutions to occupations, the country has seen its fair share of turmoil and tragedy. But despite all this, France has emerged as a strong and resilient country. These stories serve as a reminder of the importance of freedom, democracy, and human rights. And they also show us the courage and resilience of the French people in the face of adversity. So let's remember the lessons of the past and work together to create a better future for all. What do you think about this video? Let me know in the comments below.
Thanks for watching.